This is for Papa Cohn. As far as coaches go, where does Kyle Shanahan stack up against the legendary coaches that you've covered during your tenure?
Yeah. Okay, let me just say Kyle Shanahan is not a legendary coach.
No.
I want to say he's a promising coach, but what year is he in with the Niners?
6.
I don't think in your 6th year you can even be promising. He's currently at 500 for his whole career, Iggy.
Yes.
I'd say he's a pretty good coach. And let me just be real clear. I've covered 2 football coaches, one who was the best. You can make a case that Bill Walsh was the best head coach ever. And George Seifert, who should be in the Hall of Fame, won 2 Super Bowls and was a defensive guru. And I would say, and I'm not trying to disrespect Kyle. I'm trying to be honest. He is not in the conversation with them.
No, if you were having dinner with all the coaches at your house, hosting them, all the coaches you've ever covered, he would have to sit at the children's table.
He's still at the children's table with
Yeah.
Mariucci, by the way. He's at the children's table with Mariucci. And other people who get to the big table are Holmgren, Walsh, Seifert, and then we'd bring in people from other sports.
Right.
Al Attles, Steve Kerr, Bruce Bochy.
Dusty Baker.
Dusty Baker, and maybe even Frank Robinson, maybe.
Yeah.
But you know, and no, Kyle's at the children's table still.
But let's give him a round of applause for reaching 500 in year 6.
And I want to finish one other thing. At the children's table, we do give them wine.
Yeah.
But it's in little tiny cups because
True.
it's the children's table, and they're just getting used to it.
Yeah. And they can get some pasta with, just a little olive oil, nothing too exotic, maybe some butter, some rolls.
Yeah.
Rich Gangarello canned from Kentucky. Yeah, he left the Niners to become their offensive coordinator, and it didn't go so well. Now he's fired. Maybe the Niners will take him back. I don't think so. We'll see. Sorry, Rich. Modem Gamers says, thanks for sharing my GoFundMe earlier, Grant. Odysseus is 7 months old and needs hip replaced. Thank you for any shares. His cat. You're welcome. If you want to help, it's on my Twitter. I retweeted it. House of Jello says, Lowell, you sound immaculate with that new mic.
Thanks, House of Jello. I really appreciate that because Iggy had to come over the other day. I want to show you. I am so out of it. And we had to write down instructions on a whole big piece of paper for me, and I had to follow the instructions this morning, and then we had to test it out, the whole thing.
Johnny says, Grant, I remember living in San Mateo as a 10-year-old kid reading your dad's stuff. I'm in Las Vegas now. Public consensus is the Niners are the team to beat in the NFC according to the sports books out here.
That's very interesting, and I wouldn't argue with that. I mean, it's a weak conference, and the Niners are surging.
Yep.
It's very interesting to me. Thank you.
I still would like to see this game against the Dolphins before I go that far. Jeffrey says, Lowell, you and Grant are a gift to Niner fans. Don't make excuses for being proud of your son. Your relationship with Grant is inspiring to proud dads. Well, that was nice.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I really appreciate that. I love Iggy and his brother Brian.
That's right. Johnny says, generally it takes me about 6 games to figure out the 49ers, this specific team I don't have a read.
Johnny, thanks for another question. I totally agree with you. And Iggy and I are going to talk about it in a few minutes. I do not have a read on the 49ers. I have never gone this long in a season and not understood a team.
What is the 49ers' signature win this season?
I don't think they have one.
They don't have one. If they win this weekend, that's their signature win. So this is big.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love it.
Yeah. Crow says, could it be that Chris Forster is both O-line coach and run game coordinator, that both are not up to quality standard? I think he's doing a pretty good job with the offensive line. I don't think those players are so great. And the run game, yeah, maybe the fact that he has to put so much time and effort into coaching up the offensive linemen, he can't put all the time into the run game that Mike McDaniel did when he was the offensive coordinator. That would be possible.
But aren't these other 2 guys the shared run game coordinators?
You got Bobby Turner there too. You got a lot of guys there. I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
They also have Christian McCaffrey, who's the greatest running back since Marshall Faulk or Roger Craig, I was told. Niner by Nature says, we all know Jimmy starts slow, gets hot, finishes poorly, but Kyle Shanahan is a freaking clown. Get someone in here to develop Trey now. Whew! That's rough. Wow.
That's rough. I want to say, hold on. I don't consider Kyle a clown. I
Yeah, I
consider
wouldn't say
him.
he's a clown.
He's a very serious coach. He has very interesting ideas about offense, but he also has limitations, gaps.
And his micromanaging negative style. The other thing that Scangarello said is he's very demanding, and he rides you. He rides you with essentially negativity. And Jake Plummer said the same thing about his dad. What's interesting is what's going on in Miami, and the Niners might beat Miami, but Tua Tagovailoa was a first-round pick. He really was on the way to being a bust. Mike McDaniel comes in, and all of a sudden Tua's playing well, and Tua keeps saying, I lost all self-confidence. And McDaniel told me I was good. I was looking in the mirror at night saying, do I suck? McDaniel comes in and gives me a 700-clip video of my best plays to remind me that I'm good. And so like that's the whole story in Miami, that like McDaniel is feeding him confidence. And it's like, well, I guess he saw that the other approach isn't really great with quarterbacks. He's been with Kyle for 20 years, and all of a sudden his approach is the exact opposite. Maybe Kyle should work on being nice sometimes. I'm just saying. Didn't Walsh tell me tell you that players have egos and you want them to have them? Like you want them to feel confident?
No, that was Jimmy Lefevre. He told me that about Canseco. He said when he was an assistant, a coach with them, not a manager, and he was always around me. He was always praising Canseco, and he said, Lowell, he has a big ego, and he needs that big ego to hit home runs, and I'm always there to uplift his ego. Bill did not praise. Bill Walsh did not praise. Steve Young, I've told this. Steve Young said they would work on something in practice, and they'd get it. And instead of saying, good going, Steve, Bill would say, on to the next play. He wouldn't praise. And one time, the athletic department asked me to do a little video praising Stanford sports. I'm a Stanford graduate. And so Bill called in all his coaches. We closed the lights, and they showed the video. I was pretty good, and I was knowledgeable. I had spent 6 years at Stanford. I had even taught there. When it was over, Bill didn't say a word, just got back to the coaches. And I thought, okay, thanks, Bill. That made my day.
Like you went out of your way, and yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I didn't get paid for it.
Yeah. Corey says the Niners may be the team to beat, but I'll say this, based on what I've seen, they're just as likely to go 1-4 in the next 4 games as than 4-0. Yeah, man.
Well, that emphasizes that other people are as confused by them as we are.
Absolutely.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, the pattern is that if they're not playing teams in their division, their offense is going to struggle scoring points. Don't know what to say about their defense. Their defense has been great, but they haven't faced an offense like this since Kansas City, so I don't really know what to expect from their defense.
Iggy, before you go to the next question or comment, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What is Mike McDaniel like?
What is Mike McDaniel like? At least in these press conferences, he's exactly what I want an offensive coach to be like. He's not defensive. You can ask him, why did this happen? Why didn't this happen? He is calm. He's like a teacher. He wants to explain. He doesn't take pointed questions personally. He looks at them as an opportunity to get you on his side. He's like Robert Saleh in that way. He's very good with people. He's gets you on his side quickly. Really smart. You learn from him. It's like you start to feel like a student. It's nice.
Did you have positive feelings about him?
Yeah, absolutely. He keeps it light in press conferences. He cracks jokes. You know how some coordinators just get defensive all the time? Well, he's not like that at all. He's not like that at all. It's nice.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another thing. What does he look like in person?
He looks like the captain of the chess team. He's about 5'5". He's got a comb over. He's little. He doesn't look like he coaches or plays football. He even has a slight stutter. Slight. He just doesn't come across as the big, like Robert Saleh is 6'4", and he lifts weights and he's 240 pounds. He's not that kind of a guy, but he has this like confidence that's really endearing. He'll have like gold rim glasses. He looks like he's, I don't know, like he just won the video game competition and he won $1 million or something. He's very confident in himself, but it's unclear where the confidence comes from. He's a little squirrely, but he's really smart, clearly. And he seems like he has a very clear idea of how he wants to run a team.
When he went to Miami, I haven't said this before. I've never met him, but I had the idea that the way you described his looks, that professional football players would not take him seriously as a head coach because, as you say, it's like the captain of the chess team. So that's something he had to overcome. Believe me, in that physical world, he had to overcome his appearance. But he apparently did it no sweat.
Well, it's something that I think he's been doing for a long time. He knows how he comes across. And so that's why he has this whole personality of self-deprecating. He is got a lot of humor. He doesn't take it. He probably expects people to look at him a certain way, and he understands it, and he diffuses it with humor. And he's really easy to like. And I think from players' perspective, instead of having a guy who looks the part and yells and is like an old school coach, this guy is a new school coach. He's your friend. He's your biggest cheerleader. And he's like the guy, he's like your tutor. Like he's giving you the answers to the test. And you feel like, hey, man, I want this guy to be my friend. Yeah, he's a little strange. He doesn't really look like a popular kid, but he's going to get me an A in the class. And I'm bringing him to my party, and he's cool because he can hang. He just seems like the guy you wouldn't expect to be friends with the popular kids, but is friends with the popular kids. Do you know that guy?
Yes.
Yes.
The way you describe his personality, not his appearance, is Dusty Baker.
Interesting.
Yes, Dusty, of course, Dusty was an athlete.
Yes.
But Dusty, friends with the players, positive, helped you get an A on. Do you know what Dusty would do sometimes?
What?
If he had a player who was slumping and he knew the player's favorite dessert, I would see him do it. He'd come into the clubhouse and say, here's eat this dessert.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got to have a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's interesting. He's the exact opposite of Kyle Shanahan, and yet they were joined at the hip for 20 years.
Give me 2 ways that they're the exact opposite.
Kyle Shanahan is really tall. He's like the face man of a group. And it's like, he's like Mike McDaniel's like Cyrano de Bergerac. You know, he's the guy that he's like the great poet, but he can't actually approach it. But it's almost like the Shanahans are like, look, Mike, look at you. You're never going to make it in this industry. But if you stick with Kyle and just you're his right-hand man, you can go far. So Kyle has none of the social graces that Mike McDaniel has. He says constantly. He gets defensive. He doesn't like explaining himself if you're not praising him. I mean, he really has he does a lot of things that adolescents would do that you would think, well, he'll grow out of that socially. A little rough around the edges. Mike McDaniel isn't like that at all.
Okay. I'm glad we did this little interlude. I always like to talk about personalities and to also compare personalities.
And Mike McDaniel has a sense of humor, and he's positive. Kyle Shanahan doesn't have a sense of he wants to think he has a sense of humor, but he's not really funny. And he's relentlessly negative. He even says it, like when he goes and picks out a new house with his wife, she'll like it. She'll say, "What do you think?" He'll say all the things he doesn't like, and she'll be crying. He's like, "Well, what? That's how I do it. I have to lay out all the things I don't like about something first before I like it." So he's constantly focused on why things aren't good enough, which is, I think, tiring. It's exhausting.
It's tiring, yeah.
It's exhausting. And he has no really good relationships with any quarterback he's ever worked with. Ever. Even him and Jimmy.
I think he and Jimmy love each other.
Yeah, they have a great, And so did Robert Griffin and Matt Ryan and all of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy, they caught him saying that stuff, right? About your MF and plays, and then
your plays suck, man.
Your plays suck, and then those two tried to make light of it. But you know what? I think that's the truth. He didn't slip. They probably don't get on.
No, none of his former quarterbacks have anything nice to say about him. So maybe Bill Walsh was negative too, but I think probably Steve and Joe would have nice things to say about him.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you that Joe, I don't believe even to this day likes George Seifert because George Seifert got rid of him. And I do know that Bill would call plays. This I know because one of the offensive linemen, Keith Von Horst, rest in peace. What a wonderful guy. He was. I used to love to talk to him, and he said sometimes I'd be in the huddle, and Joe would come in. He says, "You're not going to believe this shit that Bill just called." And what's more, I told Bill that well after they had all retired, and you know what? Bill laughed his ass off. He could imagine he called shitty plays too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. I can believe this. Joshua Wyatt says callback interception was a function of McLeod getting bumped. That's Kyle's offense. Even if quarterback is perfect, it is going to lead to picks. Is Jimmy being imperfect on purpose leading to fewer picks? I don't know. Just throwing the ball away. Maybe that pisses Kyle Shanahan off.
I'm glad that he's not throwing picks. Picks is about the worst thing you can do.
That's true. And he doesn't throw enough touchdown passes to offset his mistakes. WK says even Papa Cohn is tired of your Jimmy hate. Jimmy is not an elite quarterback, but he's still a top 15 quarterback.
I'm not tired of his Jimmy hate. Let's get real clear here. First of all, Iggy doesn't hate Jimmy.
I don't hate
He's
Jimmy.
Analyzing Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's talking about this team, and the quarterback is the most important player. I'm eager to talk about the quarterback. So Iggy doesn't hate him, and this is fair. So Papa Cohn is not tired of it. Don't enlist me on your side. Yeah, whoever you are.
And if you have this offense with all these weapons and they're only scoring, they're 15th in points, you got to look really closely at the two most important people in the offense, the coach and the quarterback. You can't just blame everything on the right tackle. It's not Mike McGlinchey's fault that the Niners are scoring like 10 points per game fewer than they should be. That's not his fault.
Iggy, in the second half against the Saints, they scored 3 points.
3 points. How is there not blame for that? Unless
well, at least if you want to blame, let's not use the word blame. How is there not a raised eyebrow about that? Yeah, how is there not discussion about that?
That's fair. I wish SF had hired Sam Weiss instead of Mariucci, says Jay Mill. Man, that's taking it back.
That's taking it back. And also, look, Steve did pretty well with them. Yeah. I believe that Sam died, right, sweetie?
I believe he did.
I believe he did. Wow. Check it out. I think Sam died.
Jeez. Did he really? He did. Wow. He died 2 years ago. Wow.
Yeah. And you used to talk to him on the phone.
Yeah.
Sam Weiss.
I talked to Keith Von Horst on the phone too.
Just when Dwight died and a couple of weeks before Keith died.
Yeah.
Sam Weiss, let me say this, was a much brighter man than Mariucci is, and had a much broader and more creative sense of offense. But he was mercurial. He was up and down, his personality. And Mariucci is a more steady guy. So I'm not sure who would have been a better head coach.
I think the Niners were trying to get one of Mike Holmgren's disciples. At the time, he was doing great in Green Bay, and there was Gruden, Mariucci, and Andy Reid that were on that staff, and Andy Reid was the guy. They didn't get him.
You think?
Andy Reid was the one. He was the one. But was Kyle? What did Kyle think of Andy Reid? Was he impressed, or did he not have? I don't know.
Andy Reid's pretty good.
He is pretty good, but coaches are always so jealous of each other, right?
Well, Bill Walsh never praised any other coach that I ever heard. He always said, ever, if I ever mentioned whatever coach it was, and Bill's response was, he's not cutting edge.
Gee, that's insecure. I'm sorry. Can't you praise someone? MF said, did McGlinchey play well versus New Orleans? No. Absolutely not. Kev F said, for Bay Area football fans, Week 17 is the real Super Bowl this year. As Oaklanders, are there many Raider fans left there? Just Josh McDaniel. Is Josh McDaniels better than Kyle Shanahan? Beat Denver and Seattle.
We're going to find out about That's a good point. Josh McDaniel.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know about that.
No,
he's
so far
bad.
He stinks. No. He stinks, and he stunk before. Now, he may rise above stinkitude, but he hasn't yet. But the other Oaklanders, other Raiders fans, hell yeah. Yeah. I when I go around Oakland, I see people wearing Raiders T-shirts and stuff like that.
You got to remember, even though they're gone, the Raiders, it's the one Oakland team that didn't move here. They're native to Oakland. They left twice. But there's not like the A's came from Kansas City, right? And they're originally Yeah, like the
Philly.
Warriors came from the Warriors came
They
from
both
Philly.
came from Philly.
Right. So we're like Philly West except for the Raiders. The Raiders weren't they the El Senors at first? Am I wrong?
I don't remember.
Sean O'Leary says I took the 4 points and bet the Dolphins this week. A mobile quarterback with deep threats and arm strength plus 4 points. Back up the truck. Would love to be wrong, but head and heart in different spots. Niners are 4-point favorites this week. Very interesting. You think that's because Vegas thinks they're that much better, or because that's
Well, they get the 3 points for being home.
True.
So they think they're 1 point better.
Better defense. B. White says, hope this is not the Brian Allen game versus Dolphins 2020. Signing Jack Rabbit, Jenkins practice squad, etc. Everything leading up to it. LOL, go Niners. I don't know if you remember the last time the Niners played the Dolphins was 2 years ago. They started Brian Allen off the practice squad at cornerback. Got lit up. Jed York left at halftime. I reported it. People said it wasn't a big deal.
I remember Jed left at halftime. He probably had a pressing business engagement.
He drove the wrong way down a one-way street and got stopped by the cops. And they were like, Jed, sir, please drive the other way.
We don't want to
can't
have
do
to tell
this.
your mother. We don't want to have
Yeah.
to tell your mother what you did.
She'll put you on timeout.
Yeah.
Flave Cohn says, hey, guys, we still on for our family dinner this week. Flave Cohn.
Somehow, Flave, you got in the family?
Yeah, because
All you got is a name from us.
Yeah,
I like
he wants you to be his
Flave.
dad. Yeah, but we don't like it that much, baby. David says, I believe Shanahan has reached a 500 regular season record for the first time in his Niners tenure, a milestone.
Yeah.
Good job,
all
Kyle.
Praise.
You did it. He freaking did it. Jay Good says Jimmy gets hurt, Purdy plays, loss. That's. Can you bet on that? Can you bet on like really morbid prop bets like that? I don't know.
You can bet on anything. They have
Probably
bets
can.
that Jesus Christ is going to come down at halftime of the Super Bowl. I know there's a bet like that.
You don't know that he won't. He could be a big fan. B. White says Niners win in style like Saints versus Niners in 2019. In style. You think it's going to be a high-scoring 45-42 kind of a game?
I don't know what style means.
In style. Curtis Diggins says, what's up, Iggy and Pops? Niners have to have long drives ending with touchdowns, also mixing coverages, showing all-out blitz to throw off Tua quick reads.
I love it.
Love it. Love it. Irfan Mirza says, how does SF defend the speed of Miami's receivers? Hit Tua. They don't. That's a tough matchup for the Niners. They could play man and get burned. They could play zone and give up a bunch of short catches, but one way or another, they can't really match up. So they just need to hit Tua. That's what I would say.
Before you go to the next question, okay, size up Tua for me as a quarterback. What is your impression of him and your evaluation of him?
Tua has quick feet. He moves well. He's not a big scrambler, but he creates space for himself. He's not as small as Russell Wilson, but he's kind of small. But the way he throws is like throwing a Nerf ball. You know a Nerf ball? It kind of floats. There's nothing on his throws. But he's very accurate. He throws with anticipation. He's a good thrower. But you know, like they say someone can like thread the needle. He can't thread the needle. He doesn't have anything on his thread. It's like a balloon going through the air. It's a Nerf ball. So he needs space. He needs wide receivers running into space, and he can hit them beautifully. If you give him Christian McCaffrey running down the field, he'll hit that throw. If you give him Brandon Ayuk running up the sideline, he'll hit that throw. But the ball is just like on a parachute. It's cute. It's a little cute. But so it looks like he's throwing a Nerf ball. That's what it looks like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's a good player, though. I mean, I'd rather have him than Jimmy. I used to call him the left-handed Jimmy, but he's like, now he has confidence, which is nice. Flave, Lenore the weak link, but I don't think Tua will be able to take advantage of him under pressure, though. Cross-country travel for Dolphins like Niners to cover, assuming Jimmy Garoppolo and McCaffrey truly healthy. I don't know if they are truly healthy. Kyle says they're here's the thing. Kyle says he's sore but healthy. Well, let's hear Jimmy's side of the story, right? They always kind of have different stories, at least the way I've seen it. Jimmy, how you feeling? It is what it is. I'm expecting that. Jay Rivera says Arby's or Subway, couple more. I like Jay Rivera. Couple more. Zay Torres says red zone inefficiency, settling for field goals, and not being able to match up with Miami's speed is how we lose. If we win, time of possession, put the ball in the box, and hurry Tua, we should win. I think he's right.
I love it.
I think he's absolutely right. We stole his ideas. All right, well, that's the show. It was a good show. We asked some important questions. We drew some important conclusions, and we laid out two scenarios. But we didn't lay out how the Niners tie. It's okay.
Let me say this. A tie is no good for either team.
No.
Because both teams want to make a statement.
That's true.
A tie ain't a statement.
And it's funny, you said it's not really a playoff game. And both teams have winning records, and both teams are probably going to go to the playoffs one way or another. But it definitely is a statement game, and it's a defining game for both teams. Winning this game is a huge confidence boost, and losing it makes you feel like, who are we?
Iggy, in the first season, Niners were good. Was that 1980 or 1981 when they won the Super Bowl?
81.
What was it?
81.
They were playing well. I was in New York covering the World Series, and I was planning to come home, and my editor at the Chronicle, Michael Berger, called me and said, look, don't come home. The Niners are hot. They're going to Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh was a good team then. Right. Go to Pittsburgh, cover that game, then come home. It was after the World Series. And the Niners...
Week 9.
Okay. The Niners beat Pittsburgh. Ira Miller and I and the other writers were waiting outside the locker room. There's a 10-minute cooling-off period. We heard them cheering like they were a college team because they had just beaten the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh and showed they belong. This is that kind of game. The Pittsburgh game for that team, this is that kind of game for these 49ers and for these Miami Dolphins.
I'm looking at that team. This is week 9. They won that game 17-14. So they won it with defense. Then their offense wasn't scoring a lot of points. Next week they win 17-14 again. The next week they lose 12-15 to Cleveland. Then they never lose again. From November 22nd on, they score 33 points, 17, 21, 28, 21, 38, 28, 26. Never lose again. Their offense comes alive down the stretch. The Niners need that to happen. If it does, they can win it all.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like that 81 defense was really, really good.
Okay, so that's our show. We end on a very positive note.
Yeah, the positive note is that the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl. There it is. Iggy, it's your boy C. Diggy. I'm happy I caught alive. C. Diggy, my boy. Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate you. I think that's the whole show and nothing but the show. Yes. Thanks for watching, everyone. Dad, I'll call you.
I love you, Iggy.
I love you too, Dad. See you guys.
Take care, everyone. Thanks.